محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد. جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی، تو نہ آیا غازی. آل عمران نے کہا اور زندہ نے کہا، یہ بہن قید ہوئی، تو نہ آیا غازی. ہم کو پانی نہ ملے تیری خوشبو تو رہے، تیرے بازو نہ کٹے، چاہے مشکی زاچی دے، یہ مگر ہو نہ سکا، تیرے بازو ہے جدا، مجھ پہ ہے تشنا لبی، تو نہ آیا غازی. آل عمران نے کہا اور زندہ نے کہا، یہ بہن قید ہوئی، تو نہ آیا غازی. دھوپ میں ٹوٹا شجر تجھ سے آباد آ گئے، ہے برہنہ میرا سر، کیا نہیں تجھ کو خبر، اے علمدار وفا، اس بہن کو باخدا، تجھ سے دھارس تھی بری، تو نہ آیا غازی. آل عمران نے کہا اور زندہ نے کہا، یہ بہن قید ہوئی، تو نہ آیا غازی. جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی، تو نہ آیا غازی. صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ
دیکھو اے بھائی میں زہرا کی جائی، لاشے پہ آئی ہوں بے پردہ ہو کر، مارا گیا ہے عباس غازی، قاسم دلہارا کوئی نہیں، بے کس یتیموں کا قافلہ بھائی، تو ہی بتا دے کہاں لے کے جاؤں، لاشیں سنبھالوں یا کنبے کو دیکھوں، غم کا کنارہ کوئی نہیں، کریل جواں کی میت ہے آئی، کہتی ہے لیلا اے میرے اکبر، کس کی نظر تم کو کھا گئی ہے، میرا سہارا کوئی نہیں، بولی یوں رو کے زہرا کی جائی، کرب و بلا میں گھر لٹ گیا ہے، مارا گیا ہے اب میرا بھائی، وارث ہمارا کوئی نہیں، بولی اے زینب اونو محمد، اٹھو اے پیارو آئی ہے مادر، باتیں تو کر لو بولو اے پیارو، غم کا کنارہ کوئی نہیں، تیر سے مارا اصغر بیشی، پانی نہ پایا ہائے وہ بچہ، آؤ اے بیٹا خالی ہے جھولا، میرا سہارا کوئی نہیں، کرب و بلا میں ہم کو بلانا، آ کے وہاں ہم پر لے زیارت، میرا تمنا آؤں وہاں پہ، اس کے سوا کوئی آرزو نہیں، لاشیں پہ زینب رو کے پکاری، بھیا ہمارا کوئی نہیں، خیمے جلے اور سجاد قیدی، کفنی تمہارا کوئی نہیں، سورۃ الفاتحہ۔
عباس قتل ہو گئے، محشر ہوا بپا، بے کس امام ہو گئی، بھائی ہوا جدا، اب ختم ہے لڑائی، علمدار چل بسا، اب ختم ہے لڑائی، علمدار چل بسا، دورے امام کہتے ہوئے ہاں یہ کیا ہوا، دورے امام کہتے ہوئے ہاں یہ کیا ہوا، پہنچے جو گرتے پڑتے تو دیکھا یہ حال زار، پہنچے جو گرتے پڑتے تو دیکھا یہ حال زار، شان قلم ہے شعر ہے زخمی پڑا ہوا، شان قلم ہے شعر ہے زخمی پڑا ہوا، بولے لپٹ کے غازی سے کچھ تو کرو کلام، بولے لپٹ کے غازی سے کچھ تو کرو کلام، کیا حال ہو گیا میرے بھائی یہ کیا ہوا، کیا حال ہو گیا میرے بھائی یہ کیا ہوا، کیوں آنکھ کھول کر ہمیں تم دیکھتے نہیں، کیوں آنکھ کھول کر ہمیں تم دیکھتے نہیں، عباس بولتی رہ مولا لگا ہوا، عباس بولتی رہ مولا لگا ہوا، پیاسی سکینہ سے میں بہت شرمسار ہوں، پیاسی سکینہ سے میں بہت شرمسار ہوں، افسوس ہے کہ وعدہ مجھ سے وفا ہوا، افسوس ہے کہ وعدہ دانا مجھ سے وفا ہوا، یہ کہہ رہے تھے آئی جو دو چار ہچکیاں، یہ کہہ رہے تھے آئی جو دو چار ہچکیاں، دیکھا امام نے کہ من کا جلا ہوا، دیکھا امام نے کہ من کا جلا ہوا، عباس قتل ہو گئے محشر ہوا بپا۔
پر حبیب خدا خاتم الانبیاء بآواز بلندر صلوات۔
رب الزهراء صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا غريب الغرباء يا مظلوم كربلاء السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته السلام على ساكن كربلاء فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي يا سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما أما بعد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين صدق الله العلي العظيم وآمنا به زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. Second of your loudest salawat to seek the pleasure of Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra alayha as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. Bi'i'tabar ahibba'i, tonight being the night dedicated to Maulana Abul Fadl al-Abbas, and from the alqab, from the titles that are given to Abul Fadl, Babul Hawaij. This Babul Hawaij title that is granted to him is a title that shows us he is the wasila and the wasita between the Khaliq and the Makhluk. Babul Hawaij, yani the door for your prayers to be accepted, the door through which your du'as are accepted, the door through which difficulties are solved. Hawaij, yani plural of haja, any sort of need, spiritual or non-spiritual. The connection and the wasita between the khalq, between the khalq, yani makhluk, the entire creation, and the Lord is Abul Fadl. And this title has been granted to him as a juz'a, as a very small form of recompensation from his Lord for what he did in Karbala. Babul Hawaij is only one of the great. Him being able to fulfill the hajat is one of many great positions that has been given to Abul Fadl. You find over thousands of years, people have come to the haram of Abul Fadl, have come to the Qubba of Abul Fadl, and have gone with hajat accepted. People's lives have changed at the haram of Abul Fadl. People's hajat get fulfilled even before they get to the haram of Abul Fadl. Because Abul Fadl is so kareem. He says, for my visitors and the ones who are coming to visit my brother Hussein, as my guest, I will fulfill your desire even before you ask me. This is Abul Fadil. This lady, Spanish woman, who was serving in the army in the United States, Army of the United States, for the time that they had occupied Iraq. And for her time that she was there, after the fall of Saddam, the first Arba'in. The first Arba'in that happened, and millions of lovers of Ahlul Bayt from inside of Iraq and outside of Iraq were all making ways towards Karbala, the first Arba'iniyya. And you may remember that first Arba'in, there was maybe 1 million or 2 million people, and it was recorded almost like an event that has never been seen in contemporary history. And subhanallah, you see the number of years in which that 2 million turned into 17, 18, 20 million and so on and so forth. That first Arba'in, as she was posted in her camp, and the masses started coming out from every side of Iraq towards Karbala al-Muqaddas. You can imagine it was a big concern, security concern for the army. And they didn't know what is happening. And at that time, the American authorities that were inside, together with the intelligence, and they started to find out, and one of the first things that was tasked is for them to understand who is this Hussein ibn Ali, and what is Arba'in, and what is Muharram. As all this was going on, this lady who was in the army, cadet from the other thousands of cadets who was there, she was tasked with an interpreter. The interpreter was a Shia. She asked the interpreter, this Arba'in for which we are mobilizing ourselves and security forces on high alert, so on and so forth, says, why are the people going? What is in Karbala? Interpreter felt a little bit ashamed to say that they are going to pay tribute to Sayyid al-Shuhada and that he was killed and so on and so forth. He thought she won't understand. So he said to her, Al-Afwu, my mistake, a mistake from my side. The translator explained to her that this is Sayyid al-Shuhada and this is how he was martyred and so on and so forth. So she asked him, why do they have to go to his shrine to commemorate Arba'in? He was a great man, he gave a great sacrifice. But why are people in this time, security threats and Daesh and explosions, so on and so forth, why are they insisting that they go to the shrine of Abbas and Hussein at this time, and why walking? He said, I felt ashamed, but I said it anyway. He said, I said to the Spanish woman, that the lady cadet, he said, I said to her, the people believe that if you go to the shrine of the saints, your desires and your needs and your prayers and difficulties that you have get solved. He said this and he left. This sat in the mind of this woman. Couple of weeks later, they do their duty that was there. They have certain days where they are on active duty, and there are certain days that they are off duty. And in off duty time, they're within these camps that are secluded and built outside their bases, like you all know. This thought sat with the woman at the back of her mind. Her time off, she went and she addresses whoever is senior inside of their cavalry if she could come out of the base and if she could go to Karbala, because their posting was in the outskirts of Baghdad. Obviously, you can imagine the hierarchy within the military base and the camp. She was not given official permission to go, but it was her day off. She was told, you can go out of the base, but at your own risk. She went, she put on an abaya, and she walked, or she left to go towards the haram together with one of the designated guards or interpreters from the locals, whatever. She says she stood outside the haram of Abu al-Fadil. She says there is something about this dome. She's a Christian, Catholic, believer. She says there was something about that dome. I don't know why, I don't know what it was. I just began to weep. I don't know. Something took over my emotions. I was just crying uncontrollably. And I looked at that golden dome and I spoke from the bottom of my heart. Why am I speaking? I don't know. Who am I speaking to? I don't know. She said to, standing outside the Qubba, the Haram of Abu al-Fadil, looking at the Qubba, she said, the people here say that you are able to solve difficulties. I don't know who you are, but I have not been blessed with children. If you are what the people say, then bless me. She said this, she went back. She got suspended from the base because she left the base. Anyway, her duty was finished, everything, she returned back to the United States. That same year, she was blessed with a child after years and years of a childless marriage. She has ended up becoming one of the most staunchest followers and lovers of Ahlul Bayt. When you say Abul Fadil is the wasita and the wasila between creation and the Lord, this door is great. There is nothing that is outside the hands of Abul Fadil. And with this in mind, Ahibai, the night which is designated to Abul Fadil, let us raise our hands in dua, and 5 times. Mu'mineen and mu'minat who are not in the best of health, there are millions of those lovers of Ahlul Bayt in the east of the world, in the west of the world, who are in need of du'as, who are not in the best of health, who are in difficulty, be it financial, be it through security, be it oppression, ideological, political. Ya Allah, by the sake of Abul Fadil on this night, mu'mineen and mu'minat who are not in the best of health and are being suppressed or repressed, by the sake of Abul Fadil, Ya Allah, you grant them deliverance. 5 times for the well-being of the lovers of Ahlul Bayt in every corner of this world. 5 times Amma Yujibu, if you may join me in the recitation. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب هو يكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله بحق مولانا أبي الفضل العباس يا الله مؤمنين المؤمنات in the east of the world, in the west of the world, who are not in the best of health, you grant them shafa'ah. Ya Allah, mu'mineen and mu'minat, bihaqqi Abul Fadil, whoever has any one of their hajats, Ya Allah, do not let them leave this farshil aza except that you have fulfilled their hajat, Ya Allah. By the sake of Abul Fadl al-Abbas, Ya Allah, protect us and our children, and help us to pass from this dunya into the next world, being on the right belief and the right aqidah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, protect the Shia Ummah from fitna by the sake of Maulana Abul Fadl. Ya Allah, by the sake of Maulana Abul Fadl al-Abbas, hasten the reappearance of Maulana Sahib al-Amr by the Sheikh of Maulana Abil Fadl al-Abbas. Ya Allah, on this night, forgive us our sins and make us to be capable to be from the Ansar and the Ashab of the awaited Imam by the Sheikh of Abul Fadl. Ya Allah, grant us the opportunity to perform the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein and the Ma'sum Imams in the Holy Lands, and grant us their shafa'ah in the Akhirah. برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أحبائي أبو الفضل العباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين, you find that within the seerah of Amir al-Mu'mineen in itself is a bahar and an ocean azim. When you find that the Ma'sum Imam describes Abul Fadil as being Sulbul Iman. Sulbul Iman, yani the belief system within him, his faith is deep rooted and mixed with his flesh and blood that it cannot be separated, such that the poet says when you look at Iman and you look at Abbas, there are no two separate entities. Abbas is Iman, Iman is Abbas. You have over here historians narrate that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam approached his brother Aqil. And this is many years after the martyrdom of Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen. And this is Amir al-Mu'mineen, who is Wasiyun Nabi, who is Nafsun Nabi, for what is applicable on the Rasulullah outside of the title of Nabuwa is applicable to Amir al-Mu'mineen. وَمَا يَنْتِكُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. For this Amir al-Mu'mineen, who does not speak anything but revelation granted to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, approaches his brother Aqil and says to Aqil, O Aqil, identify for me a woman who belongs from a family and a tribe that is known for their courage and known for their bravery, from whom I will be able to, or from this marriage, we will be able to conceive a child who will be a horseman from the horsemen of Hijaz. For when Amir al-Mu'mineen approaches Aqil for this, know that this marriage and the goals of this marriage is an amr that is already decreed in the heavens by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now why Amir al-Mu'mineen, who has ilmul ghayb, himself did not go to the house of Sayyidah al-Baneen? Why did somebody who have ilmul ghayb have to go and ask Aqil to go and identify a woman who would be suitable to be the mother of a child such as or Abul Fadil, or a son such as Abul Fadil? Over here the ulama have got a number of explanations. It is not in every aspect of life that a ma'soom imam will use ilmul ghayb. There are wisdoms when there is a wisdom when the imam will use ilmul ghayb, and there is a wisdom when imam doesn't use ilmul ghayb. One of the wisdoms, which is perhaps at the very lowest level for anyone within the general capacity to be able to understand, is that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam sets forward for us a precedence. Remember, one of the concepts that we have been alluding to over the last few nights, every breath, every word of an imam uttered is a hujjah upon us. Every word uttered from an imam is some sort of a sunnah, either from the wajibat or mustahabbat, or it is a prohibition which is from the muharramat or from the makruhat. For when Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam goes to Aqil and asks him to identify a woman who is suitable such that he may have a son such as Abbas, this is a lesson for the Shi'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen, lesson for us on a communal level, lessons for us as parents, lessons for us who are looking to get married, that when the time of marriage comes forward, there is no shame to go out and to inquire about the family that you seek to bring and live the rest of your life with. Istishara. For the Imam puts forward this concept by him asking Aqil, not that the Imam himself needs to know, he's setting out a sunnah and a precedent for all his followers that are after him about the qualities that need to be sought for when you're seeking for marriage. In this regard, then Aqil being a mutakhasis in that he had specialized in genealogy and was able to tell. Number two, you find that this is by ishara, because this is not the bahath for tonight, but by ishara, it also goes forward to show us the importance and the role that genetics plays when it comes to marriage. See, Amirul Mu'mineen, number three, Amirul Mu'mineen had a vision even before the marriage, and this is a lesson for all of us. Before the marriage, Amirul Mu'mineen already knew what he wanted from that marriage. This is something that is applicable for us in this day and age, to have a goal and to have a vision from this relationship. What is the end goal, or what are the goals we're trying to achieve from this? For Amirul Mu'mineen makes it very clear from the first day that he says to Aqil, I want a horseman from the horsemen of Hijaz, somebody from a family of courage that will be a support for son Hussein in Karbala. For Imam Amirul Mu'mineen ties the concept of courage and attributes it to the mother and the family that the mother comes from. Genetics plays a role when it comes to inheriting certain sort of characters that are passed. Hence, you find that the hadith comes forward and says that when you look for marriage, look within your spouse, look within the wife, qualities that you want as a mother that she will instill onto the child. هذا هو بالإشارة. فأمير المؤمنين عليه السلام goes and he says to Aqil, find for me a woman from this courageous tribe with these sifat. Aqil alayhi salam, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, whom, by the way, you know, Aqil, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, had at least 3 sons in Karbala, all of them who became shuhada. They went in the final, towards the final hours on the day of Ashura, from who remained from the Bani Hashim. There were some of the youth of Bani Hashim who went out in a single attack. And there are some youth of Bani Hashim who went in groups of 2 combats, so dual combats. And there are some who went in an entire group. There are some who participated in both, the likes of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. Ali al-Akbar fought side by side with Abdullah ibn Muslim into the battlefield. Both of them went and they ripped apart the army into 2 and then came back. And then Ali al-Akbar went into the battlefield again by himself. Similarly, you have that the children of Aqil alayhi salam, the cousins of Sayyid al-Shuhada, nephews of Amir al-Mu'mineen, 3 of these sons, they went into the Maidan as 3 together, in ranks of 3, and they pushed forward the enemies until the enemies separated between the 3 of them and then attacked them collectively, hence they became shaheed. For Aqil himself, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, was represented inside of Karbala. Hadith that you find, or narrations that you find in the books of history, that Aqil had some sort of affiliation alayhi salam with Muawiyah, all of these mahall al-ishkal. Person has to look at the seerah of Aqil alayhi salam and where the children of Aqil spent their lives in the defense of Ahlul Bayt and Sayyid al-Shuhada. Anyway, Aqil goes forth and he identifies the family of Sayyidah al-Baneen from the tribe of Kilabiyah, Fatima bint Huzam al-Kilabiyah. He goes to the family of Huzam and he identifies this family which has been known for generations and generations of loyalty and bravery. Courageous men who had generations of warriors after warriors being born, such that Arab poets, when they wanted to write poetry, making examples of concepts such as courage and bravery and the art of using swordsmanship, they would refer back to the family of Hizam al-Kilabiyah and they would write poems based on this. Aqil goes and extends the proposal, if you may say, to the family of Sayyidah al-Banin, and asks for the hand of Sayyidah al-Banin in marriage from the father. The father says, and I shall ask my daughter. You know that in Islam, there is no coercion when it comes to marriage. There is no coercion on the daughter. She cannot be forced to marry one against her will. Yet, ironically, you see, statistically speaking, it is Muslim countries that have the highest statistics of forced marriages. This is one of the many nata'ij of abandoning the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. But in any case, the father comes and he approaches his daughter. Huzam comes and approaches his daughter, Sayyidah al-Banin, and informs her of this proposal. The narrations mention Sayyidah al-Banin says to her mother, "O mother," just remember why we said everything is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the heavens. Sayyidah al-Banin says to her mother when the news of the proposal is brought to her, "O mother, before you came to me with the news of this proposal with my father, I saw in a dream that I was sitting in a vast garden, and while I was contemplating on the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I saw under the bright sky, the sun was shining with all its radiance. And as the sun was out, the moon was also out in all its splendor and in all its beauty. And around the moon and the sun, all the stars had filled up the sky. Shay'un ajib. In daytime, the sun is shining, the moon is shining, and even the light from the stars are very apparent." She says, "And as I looked into this and I thought how strange it is, contemplating over the grandeur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala," she says, "in the dream I saw that the moon from the sky fell onto my lap and 3 other stars accompanied this moon." So she asked for the interpretation. And from the interpretation of dreams, it was apparent that this was a glad tiding that she is going to be a mother to 4 legacies, legends that this universe has never seen and will never see. And with this, the marriage between Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and Sayyidah al-Banin happens. Historians mention, when you want to know Abul Fadl al-Abbas and the status and the grandeur of Abul Fadl al-Abbas, every fadila from the fada'il of Abul Fadl begins from his mother Sayyidah Banin alayhi salam. What do you say in the ziyarah of Amir of Abul Fadl? We bear witness, ashhadu annaka bit-taslimi wat-tasdiq. I bear witness to you for utmost submission, and you were true and truthfulness, wal wafa, loyalty towards Imam al-Hussein. This loyalty and this unconditional obedience came from where? The effect from Sayyidah al-Banin and the tarbiyah of al-Banin alayhi salam. Historians mention on the night of her marriage, she is being brought into the house of her husband, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And you can imagine that this moment is a moment which is extremely special and a moment that is extremely emotional. Here you have Sayyidah al-Banin being brought with all the hijab and with all the dignity. She is being brought into the house of her husband. Her father is accompanying her. The elders of the tribe are accompanying her into the new home of her husband. At that moment, as they get to the doorstep, Sayyidah Banin says to her father, "Wait, I shall not enter the house." Allah. The bride, newly married, your father, your tribe, this is the dignity of your tribe. Why will you not enter the house? Sayyidah Banin says, "First I shall enter and ask permission from Imam Hassan and Hussein and Sayyidah Zainab if they will give me permission to enter into the house as a servant." Hi Banin alayha salam, tarbiyah. And it is with this that she enters this aqidah, this iman, this belief, this reverence for Ahlul Bayt, that she enters into the house of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Such that then the historians mention, why do we call her Sayyida Ummul Banin? Ummul Banin, the mother of sons. She had 4 sons, Abul Fadil, Abdullah, Ja'far, and Uthman. And Uthman, Bain al-Qawsain, Amirul Mu'mineen didn't name him Uthman as in to match Uthman ibn Affan. La, one of the people who usurped the Khilafat of Amirul Mu'mineen, Abadan la, he was named after the companion of Amirul Mu'mineen and the friend of Amirul Mu'mineen, Uthman ibn Mad'un. Out of his remembrance and his courage and how he became shaheed in previous wars, Amirul Mu'mineen named him Uthman. Unfortunately, people who have no understanding of history mix this and that and come with other conclusions. In any case, Ummul Banin, why is she called Ummul Banin? Why was she given this title, Ummul Banin? Historians mention that when she was in the house of Amirul Mu'mineen, her name is Fatima, Fatima bint Huzam. When she was in the house and Amirul Mu'mineen would call her, he would call her by her name Fatima. For Sayyida Ummul Banin says, when Amirul Mu'mineen used to call me by my name Fatima in the house, he says at one moment or in one day I noticed that Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra was sitting in the house, and when the Amirul Mu'mineen called me by my name Fatima, Zainab alayha salam began to cry. Because every time Amirul Mu'mineen would call me by the name Fatima, the memory of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra would make the children cry. The manner in which they lost their mother. You know, it is very difficult in the manner in which Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra and the Imamain al-Hasan and Hussein lost their mother. Such that the historians mention that when the pure body of Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen was wrapped in a coffin, Amir al-Mu'mineen called out to the children and he said to them, Ya Hassan, Ya Hussein, Ya Zainab, Ya Kulthum, come and give your final goodbye, your final farewell to your mother. The historians mention that Imam al-Hussein threw himself at the feet of the janazah, and the Imam Hassan on the forehead of Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. Imam al-Hussein is saying, Ya Ummah kallimini, O mother, speak to me. I am your son Hussein. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, Jibreel came down to me and said, give patience to Hussein, console Hussein. The Malaika are in distress with the weeping. For when Sayyida Zainab would hear the name Fatima, this name Fatima is very dear, she would tear up. For Sayyida Banin goes to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and she says to him, my master, I have a request. After today, do not call me Fatima. He says, why? He says, every time you call me Fatima, Sayyida Zainab and Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam, Imamain tear up. From today, call me Banin. Amir al-Mu'mineen called her Banin. This is the mother of Abul Fadil. The historians mention that the etiquette that she drilled into Abul Fadil was such that, number one, in his entire life, Abul Fadl al-Abbas would be very reluctant to sit when Imam al-Hussein was sitting. When Imam al-Hussein would sit, Abul Fadl would stand. He would never sit. He was very reluctant to sit. And when Imam al-Hussein insisted that he sit, the hadith say, the historians mention Abul Fadl, if he ever sat with Imam al-Hussein, he would sit with him or he would sit in front of him in the same manner that a slave with all humbleness, with all humility would sit in front of a master. Abul Fadil never raised his head up while he sat in front of Sayyid al-Shuhada. ta'zeem, understanding the maqam, that this person who is in front of me, Sayyid Shabab Ahlil Jannah and Hujjatullah fil Ard. There is absolutely no doubt the courage and the love of Abul Fadil that we celebrate and that we commemorate, the love and the loyalty for one brother towards another brother, bila shakkin wala raib, 100% right. But it was not restricted to that. Abul Fadil's loyalty and allegiance to Sayyid al-Shuhada was not restricted to the fact just because this was my brother. It was something higher. In addition to my brother, he's the Imam Zaman of my time. He's the Hujjatullah fil Ard, which is why when Abul Fadil's right hand was severed on the battlefield, what is the first thing Abul Fadil said? In qata'tumu yamini fa inni uhami abadan an dini an imamin sadiqil yaqini najlun nabi at-tahir al-amini. It says, even if you cut my right hand, in qata'tumu yamini, even if you sever my right hand, fa inni uhami abadan an dini, I will continue to defend my religion. Wa imamin sadiqil an imamin sadiqil yaqini, and I shall continue to defend the truthful imam. It didn't say I will defend my brother. He said I will defend my imam. So was his nadra and his look towards Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. He never sat with Imam al-Hussein. He stood, and when he sat like a humble slave. And when he sat as a humble slave, he never raised his head up towards Abul Fadil, but he always had his head lowered down out of respect and ta'zeem. And this, on one hand, is the tarbiyah that was granted to Abul Fadil alayhi salam when it came to Sayyid al-Shuhada. And on the other hand, you have the tarbiyah of Mawla al-Kawnayn wa Imam al-Muwahhidin, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Salman al-Muhammadi was a student of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abu Dhar was a student of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Miqdad was a student of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Mitham al-Tammar was a student of Amir al-Mu'mineen. These are men who are legends, men of such a caliber. History produces only one such man at any given time. Student of Amir al-Mu'mineen like Mitham, student of Amir al-Mu'mineen like Salman. Salman became Salman with ilmul balaya and ilmul manaya and the ilm of the ghaib, and he traveled to the malakut and back because he was a student of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Then what do you think of Abul Fadil, who was the tarbiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen in his entirety? Rasulullah used to say, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha. Abul Fadil, the historians say, Kana Abidan Faqihan Mujtahidan. Abid, Faqih, and the Mujtahid. To appreciate this ilm that Abul Fadil had as an alim, you only need to look at the ilm that Salman had, such that Rasulullah says, Salman minna ahlul bayt, and that ilm purified Salman as a student, And take that and use that as a benchmark now to start building your ma'rifah of Abul Fadil. Shay'un khayali aslan. The ilm of Abul Fadil, the tarbiyah of Abul Fadil. This is one of the most difficult parts because you don't know where to start. and you don't know where to end. And wallahi al-azim, from the bottom of my heart, there is nothing but to seek forgiveness on this member from Maulana Abul Fadl al-Abbas for the taqsir in this majlis, because it is one of the most difficult things to do, to speak about Abul Fadl. Where do you start? Where do you end? And whatever you say, there is no justice. This Abul Fadl al-Abbas and what he inherited from Amirul Mu'mineen, the ilm that he inherited from Amirul Mu'mineen, the courage and the bravery that Abul Fadl inherited from Amirul Mu'mineen. You see, when Amir says that I want a son who is going to be a support for the son of Rasulullah, for Yani Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, Abul Fadl was to Sayyid al-Shuhada what Amir al-Mu'mineen himself was to Rasulullah. Abul Fadl was to Sayyid al-Shuhada what Amir was to Rasulullah. بالضبط, if you look at the seerah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the stances Amir al-Mu'mineen took in the life of Rasulullah, you will find an exact photocopy of Abul Fadl to Sayyid al-Shuhada. And it is no coincidence that Rasulullah said, Husaynu minni wa ana min al-Husayn. And when it comes to Abul Fadl, the same would apply between him and Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. From the titles, from the role and the purpose of his existence, Abul Fadl. One task that was granted to him, the task from which he has the title Sahibul Liwa. Sahibul Liwa, yani the flag bearer, the one who holds up the flag during the battle. Now, it is important, and we probably said this before, but there needs to be ta'keed on this every year, and particularly on the night of Abul Fadl. The flag in a battle, flag is just not the symbol of the existence of your enemy. The flag in Islamic history denotes something much more deeper. The flag represents your identity. This flag represents your values. This flag represents your deen. This flag represents every honorable principle that you subscribe to, that you affiliate with, to an extent that you are willing to give your life for it. This flag represents deen in its entirety. This flag represents the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen. And hence, this person who holds up this flag, which is a representation of Islam in its entirety, the one holding the flag himself must be the highest embodiment of the values within that flag. The first character of a flag bearer, yani the flag bearer in or under the command of a ma'asum. If you want to understand the conditions, you go back to the Battle of Khaybar. See, Khaybar, many people went to try and conquer the fort of Khaybar before Amirul Mu'mineen. They had Ibn Abu Quhafa and they had Abu Hafs, and they went and they got defeated and they came back. And not only were they defeated, but when they were defeated, they came back and they started to create fear amongst the ranks of the Muslims. They say to them, Baba, don't go towards the Yahuda. They're more powerful than what we think. So not only were they defeated, but they were demoralizing the army. Until Rasulullah comes forward and he says, tomorrow I'm going to give the flag, this flag of Islam to somebody. لَأَعْتِيَنَّ الرَّايَ لِرَجُلٍ يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ وَيُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ. I am going to give this flag to a person who loves Allah. Rather, Allah loves him. It's one thing when you love Allah. It's another thing when Allah loves you. The following day, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam comes and he is given the flag of Islam. to take forward and conquer the forts of Khaybar. For you understand that one of the sifat from the sifat of a flag bearer is that he is a person who is not only submerged in the love of Allah. When Rasulullah says, I will give the flag to a person who loves Allah, Amirul Mu'mineen loves Allah, but he doesn't love Allah in the way you and I think of loving Allah. He is submerged in the love of Allah. His existence is about being submerged in the love of Allah, such that when you want to think about the love of Allah that Amir has, such that when he's in a state of salat, an arrow is being pulled out of his ankle and he didn't feel the pain while he was in the ruku. The love of Amir for Allah. You need to have this sort of a love to qualify to hold that raya. This same quality is found inside of Abul Fadl Abbas. The one who holds the flag of Islam has to have these certain qualities and shurut inside of him. Conditions, prerequisites, the way we would say. Khaybar is Khaybar. Amirul Mu'mineen and the feats that were performed inside of Khaybar, there were flashbacks of Khaybar on the day of Ashura through Abul Fadl al-Abbas. The narrations mention, the historians mention, and we perhaps said this at some point, maybe before here or some other place. When Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam was conquering the fort of Khaybar, see, the fort of Khaybar was under siege. Massive door that even 400 people are not able to lift, which Amirul Mu'mineen then lifted with some fingers of his hand, and according to one narration, with one finger in his hand, and he picked up the entire door. Not only did he uproot it from its foundation, he lifted it. And when he lifted it, he placed it down as a bridge for the rest of the Muslims to pass over so that they can enter into the fort. All this, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the fort of Khaybar was under siege. And it was closed, it was locked, it was fortified. What happened? Marhab came out. Marhab came out of the fort. So you have Marhab, you have the fort with its doors, and then you have the Muqatilin, the fighters who are behind the door. They are all lined up in their ranks. They are ready for war, armed to the teeth, but they are behind closed doors. Because their top man, their flag bearer, Marhab, is in the battlefield. So you have Marhab, you have these closed doors, and within the closed doors of the fort, you have the entire army armed to the teeth waiting. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam faces Marhab and sends Marhab to Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. They say Marhab used to wear a helmet headgear that was made of marble. This marble, which used to be on his head as a helmet, protective helmet, you needed 5 people to lift this marble headgear. 5 normal people to just lift it. Marhab would wear it on his head. For when Amirul Mu'mineen comes out, and when you read in history that there are people like Amirul Mu'mineen and they faced enemies like these, do not belittle this or do not think that these are small stances. They fought people of Arab warriors that were unheard of. 5 people to lift this marble with all its strength. This guy Marhab would wear it on his head. The riwayat mentioned that when Amirul Mu'mineen struck Marhab, he went through the marble and the skull of Marhab down to the ground. The Zulfikar narrations mention, those who believe, believe, those who don't want, we have nothing to do with those who mock our faith. The hadith say that the Zulfikar went through the marble and the body of Marhab into the ground. If Jibreel didn't put his wing down as a cover, this earth would have been splattered into 2. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam has sent Marhab to Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. The people inside the protected fort hear that Haidar is coming towards them. The historians mention armed military men, brave warriors started fleeing away from Amirul Mu'mineen even though the door was locked. And the same thing happened inside of Karbala, Yom Ashura, because the historians mention that when Abul Fadl came out of the Khaymaga to go towards the river Furat, you had 5,000 people. You have the Khaymaga, you have the Maidan, and then you have the Furat. For when Abu al-Fadil came out of the Khaymaga towards the Maidan, you had 5,000 people, 5,000 archers on this side of the Furat to prevent Abu al-Fadil from getting to the Furat. And you had another 10,000 archers or 10,000 swordsmen on the other side of the Furat. But when Abu al-Fadil came into the Maidan, he came into the Maidan like a tufan. Not only did he dispatch 6,000 people on this side of the Furat, 10,000 people from the other side of the Furat began running away. Do you know how many people from the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad got killed without Abu al-Fadil even touching them? Because the historians mention when Abu al-Fadil came, ru'ub. Ru'ub means, and this is a concept you find inside of the Quran, by the way, this fear, which is as a result of the aura that is in front of you. And you realize that you have been wrong and you have made a wrong decision in your life. And that fear causes you to die on the spot. And there are those, when they fled, they trampled upon the ones in front of them, just so that they could get out of the way. You look into history, it's recorded. The army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, they trampled upon each other to get out of the way. This one turns back to run, and he's behind him, there is a rank, and behind that rank, there is another rank and another rank. Stampede upon stampede. Abu al-Fadil and his courage in the battle of Siffin. You see, the courage of Abu al-Fadil wasn't manifest on the day of Ashura. People already had had a taste of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. They knew what Abu al-Fadil was capable of, which is why on Tasu'ah, the 9th of Muharram, Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan al-La'in, when he came to the camps of Imam al-Hussein and he called towards Abu al-Fadil and said to him, "Where is Abbas? We are from the same tribe, our mothers are from the same tribe, let us give you amnesty." This giving of amnesty was not because he felt silatul rahm between them. It was a psychological game and a trick to try and see if we can convince the strongest man in the army to defect, then the rest of the army is very easy to take care of. Sulbul Iman. For the historians mention, Abu al-Fadil's courage was known. In the Battle of Siffin, the Battle of Siffin continued for 3 months. One of the days in the Battle of Siffin, Abu al-Fadil alayhi salam, his age was 14. 14, some say 12. Either way, at the age of 12 or 14, there is one warrior who comes from the side of Muawiyah al-La'in, whose name was Karib. Karib was a warrior from the warriors of Sham and was known from that region of the Arabian Peninsula, such that the historians mention his physique was such and his strength was such that he could take a gold coin. See the gold coin, where in the gold coin there is an imprint. Either in this day and age you have the face of the queen or the face of the king and whatever other thing is inscribed onto it. At that time in the gold dinar, they used to have writings and they used to have certain images that were also inscribed onto the gold coin. They say this person, Karib, he could take a gold coin and he could press on it with his thumb and he could smudge the inscription on a gold coin. Raji'u, the books, return to the backs of Tafasir. Person who is known for this, supposed to be your main artillery, if you can say, when you come to war. He comes forward and Muawiyah very proudly showcases him. And this man, Karib, was responsible for killing and spilling the blood of thousands of the Shias of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the Battle of Siffin and outside the Battle of Siffin. For he comes forward, Karib, and he says, "Where is Ali ibn Abi Talib?" Makes this challenge, "Where is Ali ibn Abi Talib?" Come out and challenge me and face me in duel if you can. The people, the likes of Malik al-Ashtar, they come to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and they say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Karib is inviting you to a duel. And you know, this is something against the norm if anyone has studied the Battle of Siffin. The Battle of Siffin, you don't find, read the entire Battle of Siffin, you will not find anyone who dared challenge Amir al-Mu'mineen. In fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen had to cover his face to go into battlefield, because every time he walked into the battlefield, the army of Muawiyah retreated and said, we're not fighting. We're not. How it was. For you find this was against the norm, Karib. So Malik al-Ashtar comes and he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Karib has challenged you. The historian mentions Amir al-Mu'mineen smiled. And he said, where is my son Abbas? The historian mentions, he called Abu al-Fadil into his tent. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam with his own hands clothed Abu al-Fadil with his own clothes and tied an amam around the head of Abu al-Fadil with his own hands and covered his face. At the age of 12 or the age of 14, the historians mention that Abu al-Fadil came out of the tent dressed in the clothes of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The bystander could not tell the difference. Is this Abbas or is this Ali? Do you know the first istidlan? At the age of 12 or the age of 14, Abu al-Fadil's entire physique matched the physique of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The clothes fit, the amama fit, everything fit. The way of walking, the way of brandishing the sword. I read in the Maktal today that Abu al-Fadil, at one point, when he was in the Maidan, he was fending off the enemies with two swords. Could use a sword with his right hand as well as a sword with his left hand. These are men who have learned swordsmanship at a different level. Abu al-Fadil enters into the battlefield. Karib thinks that this is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The narrations mention Abu al-Fadil came on his horse, and usually when two warriors who are supposed to be the beacons of bravery representing each side, when they come and they meet in the middle in the Maidan on their horses, they usually identify themselves and they have clashes of the swords for some time before an outcome finally happens, as in one defeats the other. There is a clash of swords before an outcome happens. But when Abu al-Fadil entered against Karib, the historians mention, the minute they met in the battlefield, it was a single strike by Abu al-Fadil before Karib could even react, and Abu al-Fadil returned back. They said, how does he return back? When they went closer, they said, the man has been struck and he didn't even know. Hi, Abu al-Fadil against some of these greatest battalions in Arab history at the age of 14. And he was known for this. Which is why on the day of Ashura, when no one remained, and Abu al-Fadil asked for permission to go into the battlefield, Imam al-Hussein said to him, Anta sahibu liwa'i, you're the flag bearer, wa alamatu jayshi. You are the marker of my army, the one through whom my army is recognized. There is no army, everyone has been martyred. Imam al-Hussein says, you are the army. Abu al-Fadil, Shuja'. Abu al-Fadil, Alim. Abu al-Fadil, the protector of the women. You know, so long as Abu al-Fadil was there in Karbala, the women never felt afraid. The women never felt fearful because they had a protector around them. Which is why the Maktal also mentions on the night of Ashura, the companions were in Salat and the Ibadat. Abu al-Fadil, with his spear, was marking and guarding the tents of the women so they could spend this final night in prayer feeling safe. Which is why when the first tent rose up in flames, Sayyidah Zainab looked out towards the Maidan and she said, Wa Abbasa. Where is Abbas? Abul Fadil, with all this courage and with all this strength, Abul Fadil was a man of sabr. Do you know, when you have this physical strength and you have this courage and you have everything, it's very difficult to restrain and to have sabr. But Abul Fadil did this with great anger. He said, my father Amirul Mu'mineen is struck in Salat. Do you know how difficult it was for Abul Fadil? That he has to hold and bury his father. And yet Imam Hassan says, cover the grave of our father, lest the Khawarij pull out the body and mutilate the corpse of my father. Do you know how difficult it was for Abul Fadil? It says, me being Abbas, somebody will come and pull out the body of my father. But he had sabr. On the day of the Shahada of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the narrations mention that Imam al-Hussein and Abu al-Fadil give ghusl to Imam Hassan Abu Muhammad al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. The body of Imam al-Mujtaba is tied in a coffin. The women of the house are brought, say your final farewell to Imam al-Mujtaba. The riwayah says it was from the wasiyah of Imam al-Hassan that you should take my janazah to be buried next to my grandfather in Masjid al-Nabawi. And if they say no, then Ya Aba Abdullah, I do not want any bloodshed over my janazah, then take it to Jannatul Baqi for burial. Tonight is the night of Abul Fadil, and bihaqq the qasam by Abul Fadil on the mimbar of Sayyid al-Shuhada. See what happened to the janazah of his brother Abu Muhammad Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. The narrations mention they come out with his janazah, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. Janazah, this is a person who has been poisoned, a person who has vomited blood and most of his insides before his ruh left his body. Grandson of Rasulullah. Did Rasulullah not say Hassan and Hussein, Sayyid al-Shabab Ahl al-Jannah? Janazah is being brought outside. Marwan together with people from Bani Umayyah and that woman Aisha stand in front of the janazah of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. Know what happened to your Ma'soom Imam Abu Muhammad, for whom the heart of Abul Fadil was burning. And this is a burning element that Abul Fadil kept in his heart until his ruh left his body in Karbala. As you hear it from the words of Abul Fadil himself. Aisha cries out, do not bury in the house the one who I do not love. La tadfunu fi bayti man la uhib, she says. The grandson of Rasulullah, this person that you don't love, she makes an ishara. 70 arrows were shot at the janazah of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. Ya Muslims, ya alam, 70 arrows pierced the dead body. The janazah of the grandson of Rasulullah. The narrations mention when these 70 arrows were shot on the janazah of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Abul Fadl al-Abbas was standing there. He put his hand on his sword and he removed his sword. He cried out, how dare you attack the janazah of my brother Hassan al-Mujtaba? How dare you? The fact that you refuse it, burial is one thing, but you shoot arrows on the janazah of my brother while Abbas is here? The narrations mention he removed his sword, and billah qasaman, if Abul Fadil wanted to raise his sword on that day, he would have eradicated the city of Medina and all the kuffar who were behind shooting the arrows on the janazah of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. They say his anger was such that the vein was at the center of his forehead was manifest. At this stage, this Abbas who can strength, which you know the strength of Abbas. to calm Abu al-Fadil down. Do you know what happened? The narrations mention Imam al-Hussein went up to Abu al-Fadil. The narrations mention, if you can imagine this, the narrations mention فَقَبَّلَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ Abu al-Fadil, Sayyid al-Shuhada kissed Abu al-Fadil on the forehead. وَضَمَّنَهُ عَلَى صَدْرِهِ He hugged him on the chest. He said, Abbas, with your anger and your pain, put your head on my chest. Put your head on my chest. And then he whispered in his ear. Imam al-Hussein whispers in the ear of Abu al-Fadil to calm him down, to bring him back. He says to him, لَيْسَ لَكَ هَذَا الْيَوْمِ He says, oh Abbas, today is not your day. You have another day. You have a day that is coming, the day of Karbala. And this huzn and this grief Abu al-Fadil kept in his heart for his brother Abu Muhammad. And we don't mention this, but Abu al-Fadil's tears that were shed when Qasim was shaheed. Because Qasim and his brothers were from the tarbiyah of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Every fadila that we've recited in the last nights, Abdullah ibn Hassan being an outstanding horseman and a warrior, these were people who were brought up by Abu al-Fadl. Lions raised by other lions. For he held this in his heart. Imam al-Hussein hugs him and kisses him. He says, لَيْسَ لَكَ هَذَا الْيَوْمِ Not today. This is not your day. This is another day for you, Karbala. Until the day of Ashura, ya ahibba'i, istishhad of Bani Hashim. The narrations mention Yawm Ashura. The time of Zawal has passed. Imam al-Hussein looks around him and all his companions have become shaheed around him. The bodies of the Ansar are scattered. Over there is the body of Abis and Habib and Muslim ibn Awsaja. He looks on the other end, there is the Khayma, and within that is the bodies of the youth of Bani Hashim, the body of Ali al-Akbar and Qasim and the children of Muslim bin Aqil and Tayyar. At this moment, Sayyid al-Shuhada from morning to evening has been in war, has been bringing back dead bodies with his brother Abu al-Fadil. No one remains in the camp at this moment. Abu al-Fadil goes towards Sayyid al-Shuhada and he says to him, ضَاقَ صَدْرِي يَبْنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ Allah. ضَاقَ صَدْرِي means, Ya Rasulullah, my chest is constrained now. My heart from grief, I cannot breathe anymore. It says, Ya Rayamna Rasulullah, give me permission to go out into the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein looks at Abu al-Fadil and he says to him, Anta sahibul liwa'i. He says, you are my flag bearer. You are the commander of my army. If you go, there is no army. He says to him, if you must go, then go and seek water for the children. The narrations mention Abu al-Fadil came out of the Khaymaga. He goes into the Maidan and he addresses the enemies. He says to them, O people, you have killed the companions of Hussein and you have killed his family members. You have cut their pieces and scattered them on these plains. And now his children are dying of thirst. Allah. He says, if you have grudge and if you have grudge against us, then there is nothing for the children. Let them quench their thirst and leave us. We will go towards India or we will go towards Rome. And my master Hussein says, even after everything, if you let us go from here, he shall not complain against you in front of Allah. The narration mentions there are some within the enemies who looked and they kept their heads down. There are those who cried. Until Shimr bin Dhil Jawshan al-La'in came out and he looks at Abu al-Fadil. He says to him, Yabna Turab, O son of Turab, if we owned and we had control over the entire world and this world was made of water, we would not let you or the children of Hussein drink a single sip and we would watch you die thirsty. The narrations mention the reaction of Abu al-Fadil. فَإِبْتَسَمَ إِلَيْهِ Abu al-Fadil looked at him and smiled. He went back into the khaymaga. He says to him, Yabna Rasulullah, oh my master, this is what has happened, and this was the response for them. When he said this, at that same moment, the Maktal mentions that the cries of the children from the khaymaga became louder. Al-atash, al-atash. The pain in the cry of the children for thirst. Allah, Allah. Imam al-Hussein looked at them tearfully, and then he looked towards Abul Fadil. He said to him, oh my brother, if you must go into the battlefield, then go in to get water for the children. The narrations mention that Abul Fadil put on his armor. Then he took a sword, and he took a shield. He then put the korba yani the mashk, around his shoulders. He then went upon his horse, or before he went upon his horse, he embraced Imam al-Hussein for one final time. As he embraced Imam al-Hussein and he was alighting upon, or he was going up to mount his horse, Abul Fadil looked towards the heavens and he raised up his hands. Allah, Allah. He raised up his hands and he said, Ya Allah, give me the strength to bring back water for the children of Aba Abdullah. When Sakina alayha salam heard that her uncle Abul Fadil is going to get water, the young girl who has been thirsty for 3 days ran into the khaymaga and collected all the children. She collected all her sisters, Sayyida Khawla, Sayyida Atika, Safiya, the daughter of Muslim bin Akil, Sayyida Hamida, and all the children, and she said to them, oh children, our uncle Abbas is going towards the Furat to bring us water. When the children heard this, they all ran in happiness. With their small hands, they were holding their bowls and their cups, waiting at the front of the khaymaga, waiting for Abul Fadil to come back. The narrations mention that Abul Fadil went upon his horse towards the Maidan. After doing the dua, he charged into the battlefield, reciting a poem and introducing himself. He went into the battlefield, Ya Shi'at Ali Muhammad. It is as if you are in Karbala with Abul Fadil and you are on this journey. He went into the battlefield saying, Uqatilul qawma بقلب معتد أذب عن شبت النبي أحمد أضربكم بالصارم المحند حتى تحيلوا عن قتال سيدي إني أنا العباس ذو التودد نجل علي المرتضى المؤيد. I attack you with a heart that is filled with guidance. I shall attack you until you move away and dispel from killing my master. Indeed, I am Abbas. I am the son of that Ali who was helped and supported by the angels. With this, Abul Fadil went into the Maidan and he began to attack the enemies like a raging lion. The Maktal says he attacked them in their numbers. فَإِنْ قَلَبَ مَيْمَنَتَهُمْ مَيْسَرَةً وَمَيْسَرَتَهُمْ مَيْمَنَةً. The attack was so intense that he dislodged the right wing and dislodged the left wing of the army with his sword. 6,000 archers who were used to conquer, who were used to protect the Furat, all of them were dispelled. This is the son of Amirul Mu'mineen Haydarul Karrar in the battlefield, splitting the enemies into two in the same way that Musa separated the waters. The narrations mention that Abul Fadil got towards the Furat and he has conquered it, the son of Haydar. 6,000 of the archers have dispersed and another 10,000 have all run away. Today I was reading, or I had read in the Maktal, that Shimar al-La'in, when he saw Abul Fadil has reached the Furat and that 16,000 of the enemies have dispatched, Shimar sent a contingency to go for people to fight Abul Fadil from inside of the Furat. 6 cavalries went and 6 cavalries came back. Abul Fadil kept fighting them until the entire army took cover in the hills. They were watching Abul Fadil from a distance. Abul Fadil alighted from his horse into the Furat. He picked up a handful of the water with his hands, People say that Abu Fadil, when he lifted the water, he wanted to drink from the water, but then he remembered the thirst of Abu Abdullah. And in my heart doesn't agree with this. Abu Fadil never wanted to drink the water because he never forgot Imam al-Hussein was thirsty. But this was to show the people, I am the son of Amirul Mu'mineen. I have conquered this water, but I shall not drink it so long as my brother, so long as my master Hussein is thirsty. This is one. Number two, do you know what this was? When Abu Fadil lifted the water from his hands, he wanted to show the people, if I can drink, I will drink, but I won't because my master Hussein is thirsty. But you know the second reason, he lifted the water as if to show towards the heavens. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, oh my father, I have not forgotten the wasiyah that you gave me, because the wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen on his deathbed was, my son Abbas, when you conquer the Furat, be sure to not drink the water while Hussein is thirsty. So Abu Fadil over here on Ashura lifts the water towards the heavens to show him, oh my father, here is the water. I have conquered, but I will not drink. Allah, Allah. The narrations mention that Abu Fadil went and filled the water into the mashk. He puts the mashk around his shoulders. He lights upon the horse. He has his sword in one hand and he moves towards the Maidan. All this time, Abu Fadil has only one thing on sight, and that is the Khaymaga. How do I get towards the Khaymaga? On the other end, Shimar al-La'in shouts out to his army, oh children, if you are children and sons of your mothers, then come out and face Abbas, because if the son of Abu Turab gets water towards the Khaymaga, we shall never win this war. No one was ready to come forward. So Shimar al-La'in said, circle him from a distance and shoot arrows upon the son of Abu Turab from every direction. The narrations mention that 10,000 archers circled Abu Fadil from a distance. 10,000 arrows showered upon him. The poet says the manner in which the arrows fell on Abu Fadil from the sky is as if birds are flocking from nowhere into one place at the same time. Abu Fadil defended himself. He went into the Maidan. Those who attempted to come close, he sent them to Jahannam wa bi'is al-masir. And then Abu Fadil took the area of the Furat with the palm trees, because if he went into the Maidan, arrows were being shot in every direction. And Abu Fadil had only one concern, and that is the protection of the mashk. The mashk cannot be hit with any arrow. So he went through the area of the palm trees. As soon as they saw Abu Fadil is riding through the areas of the palm tree, protecting himself with his sword, the narrations mention that one of the La'in by the name of Zayd ibn Rukad hid behind the palm tree. Allah, Allah, ya Shi'at Hussein. When Abu Fadil rode by with the horse protecting himself, Zayd ibn Rukam al-La'in from behind the palm tree came and severed the right arm of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. The right arm from the forearm just below the elbow was severed in its entirety. Abu Fadil loses his right arm. He takes the sword into his left hand and he holds the flag onto his left hand. The flag is flying high above the head of Abu Fadil. He looks at the severed hands on the plain of Karbala and the severed hand. He cries out, In kata'atumu yamini, fa inni uhami abadan andini, wa an imamin sadiqil yakini, najlun nabi at-tahir al-amini. Even if you sever my right hand, I shall continue to protect my deen and to protect my imam, the grandson of the Holy Prophet, with one hand holding the alam and holding the sword. The Maktal says Abu Fadil was able to kill 1,000 of the enemies and send them to Jahannam wa bi'is al-masir. The eyes of Abu Fadil is on the Khaymaga. He continues to ride his horse. At this moment, Allah, Allah, ya Shia, Hakim ibn Tufail, one of the Lu'ana, is hiding behind another palm tree as Abu Fadil rides by with a single hand holding the alam and holding the sword, protecting himself. protecting himself. The enemy comes forward from the kuffar and he severs the left hand of Abul Fadl. Allah, Allah. Abul Fadl takes the sword of Abul Fadl, falls onto the plains of Karbala. He takes the mashk and he holds it by the teeth. He takes the alam, whatever is remaining from the severed hands of Abul Fadl. He takes the alam and he keeps it against his chest. Allah, Allah. Ya Shiat Ali Muhammad, if you want to know how Abul Fadl protected the flag of Islam and the flag of Amir al-Mu'mineen, when the flag of Imam Abbas was taken to Sham, Yazid was looking at the flag. He says, Yazid was looking at the flag. This flag that Abul Fadl was holding had blood stains and was ripped in every direction. The entire flag, either it had marks of the cloth being ripped apart or it had marks of swords that had slashed across it, except the part of the flag which you hold with your two hands. Because Abul Fadl ensured that so long as his hands were there, nothing would happen to that flag. He's holding it with the remainder of his arms against the chest. The enemy see that Abul Fadl has no hands. So Shimar al-La'in says, get closer to him and attack him. Somebody hits him with a sword, another one with a spear. They're attacking Abul Fadl. Abul Fadl continues, the aim is the mashk. He continues to ride the horse forward without any hands, holding on to the mashk and the alam. At this side, Shimar al-La'in says, you will not stop him with your swords, so shoot him with arrows. A rain of arrows fall upon Abul Fadl. From all the arrows that hit Abul Fadl, there are 3 arrows that stand out. Ya Shia, the first arrow that pierced the chest of Abul Fadl. Ya Shia, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Today is tears for Sayyida al-Banin. Tears for Amir al-Mu'mineen and Al-Abbas. Huh? The first arrow is the arrow that pierced the chest of Abul Fadl. The second arrow is the arrow that pierced the eye of Abul Fadl. It pierced the eye of Abul Fadl. The third arrow is an arrow that was shot by Hurmala al-La'in. He says that when I was confessing to Mukhtar about the third arrow, he said the entire body of Abul Fadl was covered in wounds. He said, where should I shoot the arrow? He said, I pointed it towards the mashk around the neck of Abul Fadl. The arrow of Hurmala pierced the mashk of Abbas. Abul Fadl says, when I felt that the mashk has been pierced and the water was seeping down, Abul Fadl says, my heart melted at that time. Abul Fadl on his horse, arrows from every direction, he has no hands. At this moment, Abul Fadl, if you look at where the left hand is cut of Abul Fadl, and look where the Khaymaga is, look where the Haram of Abul Fadl is. Abul Fadl's Haram is in a different direction. When he had no arms, his horse went in a different direction because he couldn't see. The narration mentions Abul Fadl on his horse. He's thinking, my mashk has been disrupted. How do I go back to the Khaymaga? If I go to the Khaymaga, what answer do I give to Sakina? Or should I go back to the Furat? But if I go back to the Furat, how do I feel water and I have the... While Abul Fadl is in this stage, the Maktal says, فَضَرَبَهُ لَعِينٌ بِالْعَمُودِ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ. An enemy came forward and he struck Abul Fadl with a tent pole on the head. فَفَلَكَهَا مَتَى. He split open the head of Abul. Allah, Ya Shia, today I'm not stopping in the Masaib. They split the head of Abul Fadl. Do you know when a person falls down? When they hit Abul Fadl fell from the horse. Ahibai, when a person falls down, he uses the support of his hand. Where is Abbas? Where are the arms of Abbas? The narrations mention when he fell, Abul Fadl fell face first from the horse. And when he fell face first,
there was an arrow that was lodged in his eye. But when Abu Fadil fell, he fell in such a way the arrow was pushed even deeper. Allah, Allah, ya Shia. Abu Fadil called out, Alayka minni salam, ya Aba Abdullah. He cried out upon you, my final salam, ya Aba Abdullah. The narrations mention in the Khaybaga when Imam al-Hussein heard the cry of Abu Fadil, he went running into the Maidan. Hamid ibn Muslim says, I went closer to see the reaction of Hussein ibn Ali, Sayyid al-Shuhada. For every 2 steps he took into the Maidan, Imam al-Hussein fell down to the ground. He stands up, he runs another 2 steps, he falls down. Hamid says, I went closer, I heard Hussein ibn Ali holding his back and saying, Al-an inkasara dhahri. Now my back is broken. Don't ask me how Aba Abdullah got to the body of Abu Fadl. He comes, he stands at the body of his brother Abu Fadl al-Abbas, covered in blood, no arms, an arrow that is pushed deeper into the eye. The narrations mention Abu Fadl sat down. Imam al-Hussein sat down. He took the head of Abu Fadl. He says when he took the head of Abu Fadl, the entire face of Abu Fadl was covered in blood and he couldn't see with the other eye because of the arrow. When Imam al-Hussein lifted the head, Abu Fadl whispered out. Abu Fadl whispered out and said, oh man, let me see my master one final time. Imam al-Hussein says, Abbas, this is your brother Hussein. Allah, Imam al-Hussein wiped the sand and the blood from the eye of Abu Fadl. He put the head of Abu Fadl on his lap. Abu Fadl removes the head. Imam al-Hussein picks up the head, he puts it again on the lap. Abu Fadl removes it. 3 times he did. Imam al-Hussein says, my brother Abbas, why do you remove your head from my lap? Abu Fadl at that moment, Abbas did not say, my brother Hussein. Abu Fadl said, my master, Ya Sayyidi, Ya Ibn Rasulillah, my master, O grandson of the Prophet, I feel ashamed to put my head on your lap. Imam al-Hussein says, why? He says, my master, when it's your final moment, where will your head be? Ya Hussein, Ya Abbas.
رو کے ہر ایک غازی تصدق ہوا لو علم بھائی کے اب صد میں سے شاہ نہیں جینے کے موت کا ہے سامنا لو علم ہو چکے بے کس ایمان جنگ ہوئی ہے اختتام بھائی بھی کم آ چکا لوگوں علم لوگوں علم سر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے علم آیا علم عباس کا پر پیٹ کے بولے حرم آیا علم مشکی بنت شاہ کا چھوٹے علم سے ہے بنا کس شان سے اہل غم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے علم آیا علم عباس کا مارا گیا تیرا چچا جہاں اپنی کی تجھ پر پتا دینے کو درد و جو ہم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے علم آیا علم سکھا زینب نے رو کر کہا نادان تو سمجھی ہے کیا جب لائے سلطان امم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے علم آیا علم عباس کا سر پیٹ کے بولے علم آیا علم یا حسین 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 یا سیدہ یا حسین 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 یا Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ali, 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 Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
بیٹا ہے تو علی کا زہرا کی تو دعا ہے شبیر تیرا کا ام البنین ماں ہے ہر صورت و چلن میں حیدر سے نہ جدا ہے تا حشر تجھ سے قائم دنیا میں بس وفا ہے عباس 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 تیرے علم کو تابے ہر شخص کہہ رہا ہے مظلوم کربلا کا زینب کا واسطہ ہے پردیسی کوئی ایسا پردیس میں نہ اچھڑے صدقے میں اس کے جس کا دربار لٹ گیا ہے عباس 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 دل کی مراد غازی تیرے علم سے پائے روتی ہوئی جمائے تیرے علم پہ آئے سہارا کے درد پہلو کا دیتی ہے واسطہ بے ذاتی کلیجی میں میرا بھی نام آئے عباس 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 اس وقت جب کہ زینب دربار میں گئی تھی قاری نمازیوں سے محفل سجی ہوئی تھی ظالم یہ پوچھتا تھا قاضی تیرا کہاں ہے بالوں سے منہ چھپائے زینب یہ کہہ رہی تھی ہائے عباس 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 سب مل کے عباس 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 شام غریب میں جس کا کرتا چل گیا ہے کانوں سے بالیاں بھی ہر شمر لے گیا ہے اس بے بسی سے مولا بچی کوئی نہ ترسے فرش عذاب پہ رو کر ہر دل یہ کہہ رہا ہے ہائے عباس 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 یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس سب مل کے یا عباس 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 یا عباس
محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا پکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا پشت میں حضرت شفیع کی بھی ہم آیا کھوٹا پکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے کل پہ بولیے آیا کھوٹا پکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا سب مل کے یہ کیسا محرم بلند آواز سے کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے آیا کھوٹا پکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا ظالموں اس کو تو بوند پلا دو پانی ظالموں اس کو تو بوند پلا دو پانی یا باز 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 اس کو تو بوند پلا دو پانی اب لبوں پر میرے پہ شیر کا ہے دم آیا کھوٹا پکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا شبیر کی بھی غم آیا تو تبکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں کی یہ کیسا محرم آیا چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں 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 شامیوں شرم کرو دور ہاتھوں پیدا کرو شامیوں شرم کرو دور ہاتھوں پیدا کرو سانی ہے کبھی آئی ہے بازار نہیں آئی ہے بازار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار 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 نہیں شامیوں شرم کرو دور ہاتھوں پیدا کرو شامیوں شرم کرو دور ہاتھوں پیدا کرو سانی ہے کبھی آئی ہے بازار نہیں سانی ہے کبھی آئی ہے بازار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار 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 نہیں ایسے مر ظلم نہ کر روکے تو فضا نے کہا ایسے مر ظلم نہ کر روکے تو فضا نے کہا عابد بیمار نہیں کے قبل عابد بیمار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار 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 نہیں سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں ایسے مر ظلم نہ کر روکے تو فضا نے کہا ایسے مر ظلم نہ کر روکے تو فضا نے کہا زیادہ کے قبل عابد بیمار زیادہ کے قبل عابد بیمار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں دیش بیگانہ یا کوئی مددگار نہیں دیش بیگانہ یا کوئی مددگار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں او اے مسلمانوں ہمیں چند ردائیں دے دو اے مسلمانوں ہمیں چند ردائیں دے دو مانگتا ہے کہ سوا کچھ بھی یہ بیمار نہیں مانگتا ہے کہ سوا کچھ بھی یہ بیمار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں چادر سر پہ نہیں ساتھ علمدار نہیں یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس ہائے ہائے یا عباس 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 یا جیو سے لگے ہزاروں جیو یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ ماشاءاللہ غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو میری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تجھ کو دیکھ چین آتا نہیں تیرا ملتا نہیں میں زیارت کروں کس طرح یہ بتا میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ آج رکھ لو بہن کی برادر میرے خاک مقتل میرے سرگردہ بنے حکم دے دو ذرا منتظر ہے وفا میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو
جیو سینا کہتا ڈالو جیو
راستے میں ملے میں نے چاہا کر وہ سے تیرا پوچھتی ہوں پتا میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو دیکھ گئے بہن کو دشت میں ننگے سے کیا حیا
جیو سینا کہتا ڈالو جیو
خود چلی آؤں گی تم بتاؤ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو وہ تیری لاڈلی وہ سکینہ تیری غلطنا کی سے جب خاک پر گر گئے دیکھتی رہ گئی وہ سوئے الکما
جیو بی بی کہتا ڈالو جیو
تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو میرے باوفا بیردا میرے غازی کہاں ہو تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ میرے غازی کہاں ہو اب تو غازی کو تو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی کو تو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں اب تو غازی
مل کے مومنین
کو دو صدا زینب خیمے
میں آنا جائے کہیں.
کہہ رہی تھی فضائے رو رو کر اب تو خیمے بھی جل چکے بھی ظلم ظالم نار ڈالے کہیں.
اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں.
اب سکینہ نہ جانا مقتل میں دور سے شمر دیکھتا ہوگا. اب سکینہ نہ جانا مقتل میں تماچے ڈالے لگائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب سکینہ نہ جانا مقتل میں دور سے شمر دیکھتا ہوگا. اب سکینہ نہ جانا مقتل میں پھر تماچے نہ یہ لگائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. ایک حسرت تھی پاک زینب کی کہ علمدار اس کو جیتے جی. ایک حسرت تھی پاک زینب کی بہن کے کر کبھی بلائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. پاک زہرا کا گھر جلانے کی مسلمہ کی پرانی عادت ہے. پاک زہرا کا گھر جلانے کی پھر یہ امت نہ کر چلائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. سو گئے نہر کے کنارے پر پھر نہ خیمے میں آ سکے غازی. سو گئے نہر کے کنارے پر بے وفا پہ نہ حرف آئے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں. اب تو غازی کو دو صدا زینب شمر خیمے میں آنا جائے کہیں.
شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی سینے پہ جو شاہ پلی سینے پہ جو شاہ پلی
کیوں کر کٹا پیاسا گلا کیوں کر کٹا لرزی زمین اور آسمان مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین شام غریب آ گئی شام غریب آ گئی عابد کو غیرت کھا گئی عابد کو غیرت کھا گئی پہلے پہ زینب آ گئی پہلے پہ زینب آ گئی عباس اور اکبر کا مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
ہائے سکینہ ہائے سکینہ ہائے پیاس
زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا رقیہ 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 یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا زینب یا بلبل یا بلبل یا بلبل یا رقیہ 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 یا اصغر یا اصغر یا اصغر یا اصغر یا یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا عباس یا عباس
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا وارث عادم وصفوة الله السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن طه والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة كتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاف الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مطلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من جندك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والغرة الوسطى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم مؤمن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة كتلت ولعن الله أمة ظلمت ولعن الله أمة سميت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أسفياء الله وعبداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصر. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم وتابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. ويا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأقوتهم على الإسلام. أشهد لك نسحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة كتلت ولعن الله أمة ظلمات ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصح والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة رب راضك فيما زيد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل، وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليك يا علي زين العابدين السجاد. السلام عليك يا محمد الباكر العلوم. السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق الأمين. السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم باب الحوائج. السلام عليك يا علي الرضا وبعيد المدى. السلام عليك يا محمد التكي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي النكي الهادي. السلام عليك يا حسن الزكي العسكري. السلام عليك يا محمد المنتظر المهدي. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كابة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهر الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد. حسينيات حسينيات يزيديات نعرة حيدري.